Love is complicated, but you know that. It's wonderful, deadly, and most importantly, essential to life. Ancient Magus Bride recognizes this, the different facets of truth that make up love. It's brilliant and shining, but also coveted to varying degrees of danger. Still, love is important because it ties everything together. Without love, there is no life. It's simply existence, at least in my humble opinion. This story begins with Chise, a girl who simply exists. Her love was cut off from her, whether by choice or circumstance, and it's this lack of investment in life that leads her to selling herself as a slave, to be marketed to potential buyers for a myriad of reasons. She's young, this girl who just exists, and that lack of experience may have led her to this point, just as it has so many others toward the edge of life. Regardless, her decision is made, and she is bought. To some, this purchase by Elias, the ancient Magus the title refers to, is one of relief. When you're as valuable a commodity as someone like Chise, there are all kinds of people out there who want her, because she is loved, even if she doesn't love herself. Slave Beggy, or Slave Vega, depending on how you say it, the definition is the same. A person beloved by magic, the spirits of the world, with no limit to that unconditional love. So being picked up by someone with the seemingly good intentions of training Chise as his apprentice and caring for her like a family member would is better than some of the other fates that might have awaited her. She could have been experimented on, like those huge tanks she passes on her way to and from the auction imply, used as a sex slave, or even just taken and sequestered as a queen bee to whatever magical race wanted her. For other people though, being bought by Elias is just as bad as any of these other fates, because Elias makes it clear that he wants Chise to become his wife. Treating her kindly and saving her from the potential abuses she could possibly go through is a true and tried way of manipulating emotionally and physically damaged young people into forming attachments against their better judgment. Chise clearly begins to see Elias as a rope dangling from above that's keeping her head above water. So she'll cling to him without seeing the other possible ropes in the darkness around her, because that's easier. Personally, I am of the former opinion, because Elias does tell Chise that she could do whatever she likes. He's simply there to train her, at least as far as the first 3 episodes seem to intimate, and his intention of making her his wife seems more like a declaration of intent toward her, rather than a decision he's made for her. Sure, he doesn't really know how to interact with her, it seems, and he definitely makes assumptions about their relationship in various creepy ways, such as bathing her or calling her his pet, but I see that more as an experience dealing with regular people, which Chise is despite her special ability. She's lived in the normal world for her entire life up to this point. There are moments where it seems like there's a darker spin to his actions and reactions to Chise's decisions, however, and this is part of the equation that isn't as clear as it could be, at least so far. In episode 1, the Ariels and Elias explain what Chise's special ability is and what it does. Love of her is key to this, and love always has its darker sides. The Ariels treat her kindly, in their own mischievous way, manipulating Chise into following them to their world where she can be their queen bee, taken care of and loved by all. But doing so would also imprison Chise, because while the Ariels love and want her, they also want her exclusively. While it seems like Chise refused this of her own volition, Elias was most definitely keeping an eye on her and seemed like he was going to pull her back if she decided to actually accept the Ariel's offer, implying a sense of ownership that he then verbalized as much on the way back to the house, though this might have been said in a more joking manner. However, it is quite possible that Elias's intentions here were just as dark and devious as the Ariel's, since he often says and does things that imply he wants her for himself, exclusively, such as his comment about making her his wife. As if Elias, an extremely magically attuned mage, is falling prey to the same love of the slave Beggy as every one of these spirits he warns her about. Despite this, I want to reiterate that I think Elias is the best possible path for Chise to traverse, because once she's consigned herself to slavery, there is only so many roads she could go down. In Elias's care, she's given the opportunity to not only study magic, but to realize the worth in herself and the connections and bonds she can create in the world. Even if she does become Elias's wife, Chise is given the opportunity to live and experience life as someone loved and someone who can love in turn. A pivot in her character that really moves forward with the 3rd episode's focus on her meeting Nevin the dragon. In this chance meeting, being brought along by her owner and suitor, Chise's thoughts and memories of suicide and worthlessness are invaded by Nevin, who rightly points out that it is good she decided not to jump, because she doesn't have wings. This disturbs her initially, and so Nevin decides to offer her his memory in return, to make up for the invasion of privacy, about how precious life is, and how death isn't something that should be sought after, because of what you can find to love in the life that you're given. This gift of a memory not only lets Chise connect with another being in a manner that would speak of a bond and connection she hasn't been able to form prior, thanks to the ostracization of her special ability among humans like her classmates and mother, but it also gives her the promise of a future connection by having her wand be made from Nevin's branches when the time is right. This power that she's hated all this time is finally offering her and the others she's spending time around peace. She loves these fairies and dragons and other magical creatures in her own way, even if she doesn't realize it yet, which is why she's so sad when finding out Nevin was going to die. It's why she subconsciously gave him the power of remembering a flight just before his death. She even loves Elias, even if it's just as a source of companionship in a world that hasn't wanted her until that point. After all, that's why she refused the call of the Ariels in episode 1, and why she refused to let herself drown when she heard Elias' voice in episode 3. Like I said, it might just be gratitude toward him for offering a place that she hasn't had before, but that's what the start of so many relationships in fiction begin with, and in real life, and I think that's perfectly okay, as long as Chise feels satisfied with her choice as the future goes on. Though there's also the points of contention where she is a high school student currently, so she might have to grow up a little bit before she actually makes her choice. But that's what Elias is offering her, a chance to grow up and make her own choices, free from the unfortunate circumstances that led her to slavery, or even slavery itself. One aspect of love I found interesting as a piece of symbolism, though, is how Chise and Elias represent the rose and its thorn respectively, and quite literally in Elias' case, since his magic is generally accompanied by thorns. Chise is a beauty with the ability to bloom wonderfully, and she has red hair, while Elias is the thorns that protect her until the time comes when she can bloom on her own. As the title of the show is Ancient Magus' Bride, I have a feeling that the two will eventually fall in love and become truly one, symbolically and symbiotically relying on one another like a rose and its thorns. Roses are a symbol of love, and the thorns are the darker aspects of that love. So this pulls my point together even further than I initially realized when I was writing the script. Love is everything in Ancient Magus' Bride, from the symbolism to the characters to the story. It infuses every aspect of these characters' motivations. From the familial love that Angelica shares with her daughter, and the familiarity and care she shows for Chise, to the love between two strangers that share sorrows together, as Nevin and Chise do. Even the darker sides, still very much part of love, are at play possibly within Elias and definitely within Spirit's relationships with her, but it still exists, and with it, so does Chise.